hello, and welcome to the channel. This is Amari Music Talk. I'm Richard Cole, and if you're a long-time listener, welcome back. If you're brand new to the channel, welcome. Today I'm going to go over my vinyl CD haul. I had a chance to check out an antique store today, one that I frequent quite a bit, and found some amazing treasures on this round, and I'm going to share those with you today. But if you enjoy the content on the Amari Communications channels, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're on Patreon, or if you would like to be on Patreon, become a Patreon supporter. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so like I said, this is a place I go to quite a bit. Like I said, every now and then find some interesting things. Long-time listeners know that a long time ago lost like half of my vinyl collection. Like it just disappeared. And it's pretty much since 2015. I've been managed to replace most of it. But also find some new things as well. Now that vinyl has made a resurgence. But, like I said, just try to find the bargains because, the new vinyl is expensive. Heck, even sometimes used stuff, they've jacked up the prices on and stuff. So it's nice when you can find something that's really reasonable. So I'm going to start with first CD. And this is Fishbone. As you see, I got it, like a couple of bucks barely, just a little over $3. Which is a cool little find. This is a band that PC Mignot's, you've seen them on the show quite a few times before. We were in a band together way back in the 80s and everything. And this was a band that, he kind of put me on to. It was kind of like, okay, cool. You like the time, then you'll love this group. And, he played me this album and I liked it, just never got around to getting it. And I think we actually saw them live. Actually going to have him on the show in the next episode. So I'm going to ask him because I want to say we saw either this band or it was a band kind of similar to Fishbone. And this again back in the 80s. But I've enjoyed this group over the years, but just never had a chance to get into their catalog. So this was an opportunity to finally, start my collection with this album. And I can't remember, I think, is it One Day? We might have even tried to cover this too at one point, or rehearse it for a potential live performance at one point. Again, I'm going to ask him about that. He might have more information than I've got on this one, but I actually had a chance to play this while prepping for the show. And yeah, it still sounds fresh to me. I enjoy it. I'm glad I have it and looking forward to, adding more of their albums to, my collection at some point. So Fishbone, Truth and Soul. This came out in 1988. And let me know in the comments if you have this or you're a fan of Fishbone. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. All right. So the next CD I picked up, this was one that I did have in my collection. This artist, I've had quite a few of his CDs in my collection. These are the things that they didn't disappear. Unfortunately, hey, you got to do that responsibility thing, or you got to survive at one point. I had to sell off some stuff, some CDs at one point. So sadly, this was one of the casualties, but it's good to have this one back. This is Machiavelli. At the time, the artist formerly known as Tupac. At the time, this was his last CD while he, that was recorded in his lifetime. This was issued after his passing, I believe. I'm trying to remember now. It's been so long ago. But this was an album that I enjoyed quite a bit. Like I said, I've enjoyed, like I said, I had quite a few. I didn't have all of his CDs, but I've had quite a few, and I enjoyed him as an artist. I've enjoyed him with Digital Underground. I've enjoyed him pre-death row, post-death, well, on death row. And this was one, I played quite a bit, and it's nice to have this one back in the collection as well. And this was another one I was playing while prepping for the show. I mean, it just brought back the flood of memories, not only the tragedy, but, just, having this as, in the background of, whatever was going on in my world in 1996 and 97. So, again, it's nice to have this one back. So looking forward to rebuilding my Tupac collection, and pretty good place to start now. So glad I have this back. Let me know if this is a favorite of yours. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so now I'm going to move to the vinyl. All right, so the first one. This one, I used to have it on CD. Enjoyed it a lot. There's a documentary actually about this. This is the great Aretha Franklin. This is Amazing Grace. This was recorded with James Cleveland and the Southern California Community Choir. And this was one, like I said, I had the CD for it. And there is now currently a documentary. I think you can find it on Hulu. It's called Amazing Grace. I still have yet to watch it myself, but it's, kind of saved to my stuff. So probably as I'm listening to this, I might watch the documentary first and then revisit it, or play this, revisit it, and then check out the documentary. But yeah, this was a pretty good bargain for this one, being especially 2 CDs. This was just I think maybe just under $8 for this. And it's got the original inner sleeve. I'll probably add some anti-static sleeves to it later. And of course, when you're buying any type of used vinyl, there's risk involved, but most of the stuff here, I mean, it's in really good condition, or, even if you just clean it, it looks good. Hasn't been too well loved. Let's see, and this is disc 1. And like I said, I miss these old inner sleeves. Here it's got all, other Aretha Franklin albums. Got some Led Zeppelin on here, Roy Ayers, Herbie Mann, Sam and Dave. And I used to just love these type of inner sleeves when I was a kid. Looking at these and wondering what certain albums would sound like, or if I would ever have any of those albums in my collection if I, once I got older. So this is, this brings back some serious memories. Here, let's see, and then this is disc 2, and like I said, this is pretty good condition. Like I said, it hasn't been too well loved. It was actually loved with, with care on this. It's got, like I said, just a little cleaning and it'll be fine, but no scratches or anything like that. Just the surface dust that's on it, and like I said, just a good clean can take care of that. Again, I've got the inner sleeve. Let's see, John Coltrane, Giant Steps. Yeah, some more Aretha. I mean, lots of classic Atlantic Records albums. If you were a vinyl collector, well, that's all that we had besides 8 tracks in those days, cassettes. But if you were a serious collector in those days, or if you're a serious collector now, this is pretty darn good marketing and advertising for you. But yeah, if you want a really good, church experience. This is the album for you. And I mean, this is definitely, you know, amongst Aretha's hits, this is definitely a classic album. Like I said, you got 2 album set. You know, and all this, you know, the classic gospel songs, Mary Don't You Weep, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Let's see, Give Yourself to Jesus, How I Got Over. And of course, you know, the title track, Amazing Grace, You Never Walk Alone. There's a cover of Marvin Gaye's Holy Holy, which was from the Let's Get It On album. And, you know, like I said, the inner gatefold sleeve, got some pictures. So, yeah, so I'm, again, anxious to revisit this one. And also checking out the documentary, too. So, Amazing Grace. Like I said, I think you can find it on Hulu, or you can probably get it, you know, maybe purchase it digitally from somewhere. But, yeah, definitely one I'm looking forward to checking out. All right, so next up is the Ohio Players, Skin Tight. I always loved the Ohio Players. The first song I ever heard was Funky Worm, back in the days when they were on the Westbound label. Just as a kid, that was always on the radio. Kind of the 2 things that, to me, memories that wasn't the Jackson 5, that wasn't Sly and the Family Stone, that wasn't Stevie Wonder. It was Ohio Players' Funky Worm and Edgar Winter's Frankenstein. I think that's like 1972. Those were actually probably, again, not counting a Jackson 5 and not counting Stevie Wonder, and not even Stylistics, Stone in Love with You, not counting those, Funky Worm and Frankenstein were my 2 favorite songs. I never had the singles to either one of those. Of course, I was like 6, so it wasn't like, you know, record collecting was uppermost on my mind, but I definitely loved those songs. But, you know, the Ohio Players have had many, many hits since then. Skin Tight is probably one of the most popular. And it's got some of my favorites. Of course, the title track, Heaven Must Be Like This. Let's see, Jive Turkey's another one. But other than that, I don't think I've heard really this album in its entirety. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Thanks, DJ Smooth. You know, this will be in good hands. So we'll enjoy it. And can't wait to get this. And actually, I'm looking forward to adding some more Ohio Players to my collection in the future. All right, up next is an album that I used to have, and this is one of the ones that mysteriously disappeared. Like most of my Jacksons and even Jackson 5, like poof, you know, like just, you know, like I said, just disappeared. Was able to get most of it over the years back on vinyl. This is kind of the final piece of the puzzle, or rebuilding the collection, the Jackson's Triumph from 1984. And I was kind of disappointed with this one, because I love Destiny, I love Triumph, and I thought, you know, they're back together, you know, kind of, this is post-Thriller. They're getting back, they're doing a world tour, so it made sense to have an album to support that tour. You had Jermaine back in the group, and I was really hoping for a lot more, but come to find, this was kind of a rush job. You didn't have a lot of involvement from Michael in it. They didn't have Jermaine, even did, you know, because he didn't have the time. There wasn't time for him to contribute a song or anything. But they remastered this a couple of years ago, and I've done some videos that are on YouTube. You have to go kind of far back to find them, but they did reissue these digitally, expanded versions of all of the Jackson's Epic Records run as a group. And the only thing that was remastered for vinyl was the Jacksons live. So I was kind of disappointed that these new remastered versions are not available digital. I mean, excuse me, on vinyl or any type of physical media. So having this back in the collection, just to kind of complete it. I mean, to be honest, I did enjoy Torture. I did enjoy State of Shock. Randy's One More Chance. That's a good hit. And the rest are okay songs, maybe not perfect. But I mean, I still enjoy listening to it from time to time. I've listened to it on streaming over the years, every blue moon. Not as much as, the first two Jackson's albums on Epic Records. Dang sure not as much as Destiny or Triumph. But like I said, just to kind of complete the collection. I mean, it's still a part of Michael Jackson history. Like I said, this was right around the time of the Victory Tour. So, that's a highlight. And then this one, it's got the anti-static sleeve. So they replaced the sleeve on it. Or actually, they didn't. They just added it to it. So it does have the original inner sleeve, which has the liner notes one side, and then you got the brothers on the other side here. I mean, this album should have really lived up to the hype of what was going on. Like I said, this post-Thriller, the Victory Tour, that was the most anticipated tour. They were all back together. Like I said, again, you had Jermaine. I mean, I guess they had to kind of strike while the iron was hot, but to me, it would have made more sense. Of course, I mean, as we know, Michael really wasn't truly feeling this. This was more family obligation for him. And I mean, he probably enjoyed being with them, but I think he kind of knew that this was the last go round for a while. But like I say, they are again. They always had some cool album covers and like some cool photographs to go with the packaging of the album. But like I said, this pretty good condition. Like I said, this will be added to the rest of my Jackson's vinyl. Still got a few more to go as far as like Jackson 5 to kind of complete the set, but like I said, it's a nice one to have. So I don't know. What do you think about Victory? Did you enjoy it? Were you a longtime Jackson 5 Jackson's fan? How did this land for you as far as a reunion album? If you were kind of that younger, like, I was 18 at the time, and like I said, I'm a long time, I was a Jackson 5 fan from 1970, from 4 years old. In fact, they were the first concert I ever went to at 6. So, for me, like I said, it was kind of disappointing, but I mean, still some good songs on it. But if you were like a younger fan, like if this was your, if like Thriller was your gateway growing up, how did Victory land for you? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And while we're talking about family groups, the next acquisition is the Isley Brothers. Go for your guns. Let's see. I didn't own any Isley Brothers on vinyl. I mean, but they were always on the radio, and I've always enjoyed the songs. Most of my Isley Brothers were like cassettes, CDs later on. Both had been long gone from the collection. as far as vinyl, the only other Isley Brothers album I have is Showdown. So, just kind of recently, with the loss of Rudolph Isley, rest in peace, Rudolph Isley, and with Vernon Reid championing, trying to get Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, getting him up to 10,000 followers on X. Ernie Isley. So that's been getting a lot of buzz lately. So yeah, it just kind of brought me back to the Isleys, to where like, yeah, I need to get some, vinyl or CD again or something. So luckily, again, this was another one that was like about $5 or so. And again, looks like this was in good condition as well. And yeah, like I said, just good condition. Like I said, maybe a little cleaning, little there's fingerprints of dust. And then I'll replace it with a anti-static sleeve as well, but it's in the original inner sleeve. And I've always liked albums from the 70s that, even if they weren't a live album, the album cover and the inner sleeve would be photos from, I guess the previous tour or something. I always was just enjoyed that, because I think that was pretty good hype, because it's like, okay, you got this album, and it's like, now you want to see, you see these pictures, and it's like, yeah, I kind of want to see them live now. But yeah, this is a classic. Oh, and I also love the in the studio shots as well. I'm a liner note studio photos of the in the studio, in action, on the stage, in action. I'm always a sucker for those type of pictures. So the 70s was a great time. You won't get that these days. Everything is too slick and glossy and computerized and packaged, and very few people really break it down live anyway. So this is a very good period to experience. But as far as this one, I mean, it does have some of my favorites. It has Footsteps in the Dark, Tell Me When You Need It Again, Voyage to Atlantis. Got the classic 70s lineup here. So this is pretty good. So with Showdown and this, as far as their studio albums, this is a pretty good start to rebuilding that as well. All right, so up next is the Average White Band. And this one, I think this was about probably about $2 or $3 for this one. As you can see, this one was definitely well loved. You kind of got the ring wear here. It looks like probably some water damage that's here. But this was another band that I've always enjoyed listening to, but never had anything on vinyl or CD. Let's see, Schoolboy Crush, I've had it was on a compilation with some other funk artists and stuff. But yeah, this is a pretty good band. Kind of James Brown grooves, like Schoolboy Crush, Eric B. and Rakim sampled that for Microphone Fiend, so I've always enjoyed that track. Cut the Cake is another one. And, pretty much familiar with some of the musicians. Amish Stewart, let's see, Robbie McIntosh, Steve Ferroni. I'm familiar with them from being in other bands, after after Average White Band. So yeah, so this is like I said again, a pretty good start to building a collection of their albums and getting deeper into their material, their classic albums as well. But let me know what you think. Are you a fan of this group? Do you remember some of their classics? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. All right, so we're getting down to the final two, and like I said, we're getting back into the family bands again. This should title this episode "Family Affair." But the next one up is the Bee Gees, "Spirits Having Flown." And I don't know. For me, I think I remember Jive Talking by the Bee Gees, but for me, I remember really kind of locking in on them from it was the episode of Don Kirshner's rock concert, and this was kind of like right at the beginning of the peak of Saturday Night Fever, and the lead off was they were showing the video for "How Deep Is Your Love," and I was so blown away by that song. I'm like, okay, this, I'm take a deeper dive into this group. But I didn't get that Saturday Night Fever soundtrack till like later. The hype was still there, so it was still at the height of its, so we're probably talking like maybe into 79 or 70, later into 78, into 79 by the time I actually ended up getting Saturday Night Fever. But much later, probably like 1980, I guess, I got their greatest hits, and it was like a 2-disc thing. That original vinyl I don't have anymore, but my wife actually has that same copy. But that was it. So that kind of, I got to catch up. So between Saturday Night Fever and then that compilation, but the track "Too Much Heaven," that was the first 45 single that I bought with my own money. It wasn't from an allowance or wasn't a birthday or Christmas gift or anything like that. Well, took, using the allowance at first, and then as I got older, saving lunch money from there, getting jobs and working and doing, and then getting my own records that way. But that was the first one where I literally went to the record store by myself and bought a record. It was Jackson's "Shake Your Body Down to the Ground," and I want to say, I think the third one was Rufus and Shaka Khan, "Do You Love What You Feel?" I think it was those three. But "Too Much Heaven" is on this one. "Tragedy" is on this album, and "Love You Inside and Out." Those are like my 3 favorite tracks from this album. So I'm looking forward to taking a deeper dive into this one. And, I might go back and get the rest of their catalog on vinyl or, CD or, whatever I run across that's, economically sound for it. But, yeah, so this one looks like it's, it's got a little love on it. And of course there's the inner sleeve, there's the band, and there's a documentary on HBO of the Bee Gees. What is it called? I want to say, is it called "How Deep Is Your Love," I think. But I remember seeing it, and if you want to really get into their history and the ups and downs, disco era, even before then, they were kind of in that psychedelic thing, post Beatles, Sgt. Pepper. They got their official start in '67. But by the '70s, it was the soul, the funk, the disco, and then sort of that backlash and how that affected them, and their family dynamics and the tragedies that have happened within that family. Definitely salute to Barry Gibb, the last surviving member of the Bee Gees. But but that's definitely something to check out. If you got Max, seek out that documentary and check it out. It's definitely worth looking at. And again, this is a good start to, probably just building a collection of their, actual studio albums. But, let me know what you think. You're a fan of the Bee Gees, were you around in the 70s? I was around, but I was a little too young. I couldn't go to anybody's club at 12 or 13 or anything like that. But the music was there, and the music was accessible, and that energy was in the air. So it was a good time to live in musically, So, let me, leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And then the last album, back to the Isleys Live. And this one I might have seen here and there. I might have seen it advertised, or if I'm online like Discogs or something like that, or Amazon, I might see this, but for years I was always resistant to it, because like at my age, my first real exposure to the Isley Brothers was Who's That Lady? That's the one that I definitely remember. So as I was getting older and, like I said, buying the CDs, I bought that one. That was 3+3, that album. There were earlier albums, but I was kind of resistant to it, because I thought like, well, that, Who's That Lady was like the big standout hit. Now I know the Isleys' history. They've had hits in the 50s. They've had hits in the 60s. But, like I said, just as I'm unfolding in real time, and as their music was unfolding in real time, that was sort of the, Who's That Lady was the starting point for me. So I was always resistant to this. But I have to send a shout out to Vernon Reid of Living Color. Like I said, campaigning to get certain guitarists, their props, their flowers, because, they're on these social media sites and, only have just a handful of followers, 2, 3, 4,000 followers. And these musicians are some of the greatest, or, they've played on some of the greatest albums ever made. And you would think that, if they could sell stadiums or they could sell out shows, they should have more of a following. So in Vernon Reid's campaigning for Ernie Isley to get 10,000, so go on your Twitter, X, whatever it is now, and find Ernie Isley and follow him. He's a nice guy. I've met him briefly. Previous job that I had that opportunity to encounter him, and like I say, nice brother. So, and one of my favorite guitar players that I will be dedicating an episode to in the future, similar to the ones I've done for Eddie Hazel, and then the one for Eddie Hazel, Jimi Hendrix, and Jesse Johnson. I'm slowly getting around to, like I said, giving musicians shine that were just as influential as, anybody that they try to prop up. Eric Clapton, Van Halen, whoever, great guitarists, great artists. But, there's some that we need to still remember also. And especially while they're still here. So while Ernie Isley is still with us, again, check it out. But yeah, props to Vernon Reid for that. And also props to Vernon Reid for recommending this the song on here. There's a cover of Crosby, Still, Nash and Young's Ohio, and they mash it up with Jimi Hendrix Machine Gun. And as Vernon was mentioning that track, and I think somebody had the link to the YouTube, and I went to YouTube and listened to it. Man, I am so sorry I slept on this and I went and found that there's a studio version of it as well. And I think the album is titled Brother, 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 I think. And that mashup, Ohio and Machine Gun, that is on it as well. So it's a studio version, but the live version is just as, if not more, powerful than the studio version. And there's nothing to take away from the studio version either. But, this is definitely one to check out. Looking forward to listening to this in its entirety. Of course, this was one that was well loved, and I just had to get it. I saw this, I was like, I think probably the last time I was there, I saw this, and again, I was resistant to it, because I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't have Who's That Lady, it doesn't have Groove With You on it, I don't. But again, thank you, Vernon Reid, for this recommendation. So, like I said, I this had to come home. Had to come home with me. So, like I said, this one definitely gotten some love. Got the ring wear, and then of course them in action on the stage. In action on stage. This is them arriving at the show, pre-show, during the show. Let's see. And it's got a Buddha record group. Oh, okay. So yeah, so I know that the Isley started their own record label. And so Buddha Records did the distribution. Okay, so that explains the Buddha inner sleeve on that. But yeah, we're still gonna replace this. Like I said, it's got some love, got some surface scratches, but it'll probably still play well. Like I said, give it a good cleaning or two and check it out. But either way, like I said, it's, when it's used vinyl, that's the risk you take, you know that going in. And for me, it's about playing the records, I'm not trying to, I don't need that first pressing in pristine condition from 1952. I don't need that, and ain't trying to spend the money on that. We got folks got to eat, got to keep the lights on and stuff like that. So, my thing is I just want to listen to the record. So, if I can go for a couple of bucks and keep finding vinyl like this, then it's going on the turntable and I'm kicking back and I'm listening, or I'm editing the show and listening. So there you have it. But yeah, the classic T-neck label. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, gonna clean it up a bit. And and I like the original version too of Ohio, and I love the original version of Machine Gun too. I have a lot of Hendrix on CD, but looking forward to taking a deeper dive into Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash. Now I do have the Neil Young, his website app. I was paying for the yearly subscription for a while, but stopped. May go back to it. But even if you just sign up initially, you can at least listen to one. They'll have a certain selection of the month that you can stream for free and listen to. And he's got his whole archive. He's beating the bootleggers on that. So like I said, but definitely looking forward to getting some of that on some kind of physical media, CD or vinyl. Again, whatever I run across. But that's it. That was it. Today was a good day. So, like I said, looking forward to taking a deep dive of these. If there's one that you want me to do an actual review on, track for track, if it's something that eventually, if I get a CD version, do a CD versus vinyl, leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And that is going to end this episode. Again, thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, definitely like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you want to join Patreon, and you should, because there's lots of perks, early access to videos, exclusive content, there's free stuff, that you'll be eligible for, within the year of you signing. And next year, going into next year, there will be personally, like, merchandise from the richardcolemusic.com site that you will get for free once a year. Music, I gotta get Funky Poetic Bootlegs pressed into physical media, but that's going to be a free download. And plus, thanks for everyone for checking it out on streaming. Streaming will help support the channel, because the more of you that do it, even if you do it for a minute, listen to a track per minute, that counts. And the stream, and hopefully get to a point where that can generate, become a Patreon supporter, go to Bandcamp. All the links are in the show notes, so definitely check it out. Help support the channel, because I want to keep doing this, and really want to do it all day, every day, because the editing takes a lot of work, and glitches happen, and there's other projects, and there's only so many hours in the day, and just want to create good content, good art, and share it with the rest of you. So support the channel. And with that done, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next episode. And until then, create your day, create your life. Peace.